At 3 months pregnant, my high-ranking official husband Ron Cheng asked me for a divorce, all because my sister-in-law Fei Jin, who had lost her husband, was also pregnant. Ron Cheng pitied Fei Jin for having no one to care for her and decided to take her with him to the military base to look after her and the unborn child. Ron Cheng said it was just a temporary divorce and that he would remarry me once Fei Jin gave birth and was capable of raising the child, in my previous life. I rejected Ron Cheng's proposal and stubbornly clung to my marriage with him, even to the point of seeking death. Fei Jin went to the hospital for an abortion, but an accident occurred, resulting in massive bleeding and the deaths of both mother and child. Ron Cheng hated me with a passion. When I was 6 months pregnant, he brought people to catch me in bed with a local thug from the village. I was notorious and despised by everyone. And Ron Cheng successfully divorced me and sent me to labor reform. The days of labor reform were exceptionally harsh. At 8 months pregnant, I went into premature labor due to exhaustion, and both I and the unborn child died in the labor reform camp. Before I could fully recover from the pain and despair of my death, I heard Ron Cheng sincerely proposing a divorce to me. Without the slightest hesitation, I nodded and agreed to Ron Cheng. There's no time like the present. Let's go file for divorce right now. I readily agreed to divorce Ron Cheng, with just one condition: he had to compensate me $500 for child-rearing expenses. Ron Cheng agreed without hesitation, and we immediately went to the civil affairs office. When we got the divorce certificate, he visibly sighed in relief. He probably didn't expect me to agree to the divorce so readily, feeling a weight lifted off his shoulders. His attitude toward me softened considerably. "Lily, don't worry, the divorce is only temporary. Once I've settled Faye and the child, I'll remarry you again." A mocking sneer appeared at the corner of my lips. In my past life, the cruel schemes Ron Cheng devised to avenge Fei Jin were still vivid in my memory. Even a vicious tiger wouldn't harm its own cubs, yet Ron Cheng was so cruel to me and the child in my womb for Fei Jin's sake. How could I possibly believe a single word he said? In this life, I couldn't wait to stay as far away from him as possible. I ignored Ron Cheng, gripping the divorce certificate tightly in my hand as I strode down the steps. My indifference made Ron Cheng quicken his pace to catch up with me, his tone becoming even gentler than before. "Lily, when I'm no longer by your side, you must take good care of yourself and the child. Remember to let me know if you need anything." Seeing Ron Cheng speak to me so tenderly, Fei Jin, who was waiting outside, became displeased. Her eyes darted around, and suddenly she clutched her stomach in pain, squatting down with a grimace. "Ouch, my stomach hurts so much." Seeing Fei Jin complain of stomach pain, Ron Cheng's face was filled with obvious concern. Without another thought for me, he strode over, scooped Fei Jin up in his arms, and hurried straight to the jeep. Fei Jin, clinging to Ron Cheng's neck, flashed a provocative smile at me. Fei Jin was declaring to me that her place in Ron Cheng's heart was far more important than mine. In my previous life, I never knew that Ron Cheng had Fei Jin in his heart. When he proposed to divorce me and take Fei Jin to the army base to have a child, I refused to agree even if it meant death. Ron Cheng, being in the military, didn't know Fei Jin's true character, but I, having spent every day with her, saw it clearly. Fei Jin is beautiful and enjoys dressing up, making her very popular among the men around her. Before she married Ron Cheng's younger brother, Cheng Jiandong, she had many suitors. Even after marrying Cheng Jiandong, there were still plenty of people trying to win her favor. In my past life, when Cheng Jiandong wasn't home, I saw Fei Jin bring other men into the house more than once to cheat on him. So when Cheng Jiandong died in an accident and Ron Cheng wanted to take care of Fei Jin and the child in her womb on behalf of Cheng Jiandong, I once reminded Ron Cheng, the child in Fei Jin's womb was unlikely to be Cheng Jiandong's. It might belong to some other man. Ron Cheng didn't believe me and scolded me for making baseless accusations and tarnishing Fei Jin's reputation. I felt wronged and couldn't understand why Ron Cheng refused to believe me when I was telling the truth. It wasn't until later when I was framed by Ron Cheng that I realized Fei Jin's list of lovers actually included Ron Cheng as well. That shameless Ron Cheng had already been involved with Fei Jin long before. He mistook the child in Fei Jin's belly as his own. So of course he had to give her status and an explanation. In my past life, I was foolish, unable to see the truth and ended up destroying myself. In this life, I voluntarily stepped aside to make way. Determined to witness with my own eyes the downfall of those two despicable individuals, Roan Cheng and Fei Jin, it took me 2 hours to walk home from the Civil Affairs office. Just as I was about to reach my doorstep, I spotted a man lurking suspiciously, peering around near my house. With just one glance, I recognized him, Ash Gu, the hoodlum who was caught in bed with me by Roan Cheng in my previous life. What the hell is this bastard doing at my doorstep? What does he want? In my past life, I saw Ash Gu and Fei Jin fooling around quite a few times at night. I once suspected that the child in Fei Jin's belly might be Ash Gu's. I had mentioned this to Roan Cheng before, but Roan Cheng didn't believe me. Later, Fei Jin passed away due to severe bleeding from a miscarriage, and Ash Gu came to me in a rage, swearing to make me pay with blood. After that, Ash Gu and I were caught in bed by Roan Cheng. Those two bastards, Ash Gu and Roan Cheng, spent their previous lives framing me to avenge Fei Jin. Those two scumbags were really unusually devoted to their mistress Fei Jin, weren't they? I wonder if Ash Gu and Roan Cheng know about each other's relationship with Fei Jin. Logically speaking, they probably don't know, right? A cold smile appeared at the corner of my lips. If Roan Cheng and Ash Gu were to find out they're both Fei Jin's admirers, I can't imagine the expressions on their faces. As I was thinking this, Ash Gu quickly approached with a beaming smile. Sister-in-law Cheng, where have you been? I sneered. What else? Divorce, of course. Seeing the divorce papers in my hand, Ash Gu's eyes flashed with delight. You and brother Cheng really got divorced? Yep, Roan Cheng had to take care of the child in Fei Jin's belly, so he forced me to divorce. He thought I didn't know about his sneaky schemes, but I saw right through him. Ash Gu was stunned. What do you mean? What else could it mean? Roan Cheng and that bitch Fei Jin are hooking up. I sneered. Fei Jin isn't just messing around with Roan Cheng. There's also Xiao Zhong from the electric heating plant, Xiao Wang from the boiler factory, Xiao Liu from the machine tool plant. I counted on my fingers. That slut really has some talent. She's got 7 or 8 men on the side. Who even knows which bastard's seed that abomination in her belly belongs to? Ash Gu was initially overjoyed when he saw the divorce papers in my hand. But his face instantly turned green when I started counting off Fei Jin's many lovers. He always thought he was Fei Jin's one and only, always believed the child in Fei Jin's womb was his. Ash Gu has a decent appearance, but is idle and doesn't have a penny to his name, so when Fei Jin got pregnant, he couldn't afford to raise the child with her. He discussed with Fei Jin and planned to make Roan Cheng the scapegoat. Ash Gu always thought Fei Jin married Roan Cheng to use him as a means to raise his child. Now that I know about the ambiguous relationship between Roan Cheng and Fei Jin, how can I not feel heartbroken? In my previous life, he and Roan Cheng blamed me for Fei Jin's death and plotted against me. This time, I'll make these scoundrels turn on each other like dogs fighting in a kennel. Ash Gu stormed off in a huff. I sneered and went back into the house. Since I'm already divorced from Roan Cheng, I naturally have to plan for the future. The child in my womb obviously can't stay. I need to get rid of it as soon as possible. Roan Cheng and Fei Jin are both scum, a pair of ruthless, shameless villains. To avoid repeating past mistakes, I need to plan ahead. I returned to my room, opened the box, took out the few $100s I had saved, and sewed them into the lining of my clothes. Just as I finished sewing the money, Roan Cheng returned with Fei Jin. Fei Jin leaned against Roan Cheng as if she had no bones, mumbling under her breath. She actually reached out and hugged Roan Cheng when she saw me come out. I can't walk anymore. Carry me back to my room. Roan Cheng didn't even bother to hide anything now, right in front of me. He picked up Fei Jin and carried her to the room. Soon, Fei Jin's coquettish laughter could be heard from inside, and it went on for quite a while. Roan Cheng finally came out, shamelessly saying to me, Fei is anemic and needs a good tonic. Go buy a chicken right now and make some soup for Fei to drink. After marrying Roan Cheng, I never spent a single cent of his money. All his money went to supporting his mother and younger brother. I thought it was filial piety toward his mother and kindness toward his brother's family. Only now do I realize what filial piety and kindness really meant. He never had me in his heart, treating me as nothing more than a free maid for his family. In my past life, I didn't see Ron Cheng's cruelty until my dying breath. In this life, if he thinks he can use me again, he's dreaming. I looked up at Ron Cheng and calmly extended my hand. Fine, give me the money, and I'll buy a chicken to nourish Fei Jin. Ron Cheng was used to bossing me around, never sparing a single cent when paying for tasks. Now, I actually dared to ask him for money. Ron Cheng's expression darkened. Can't you just cover it first? I don't have any money. What about your salary? My salary is all spent. After marrying you for 3 years, you haven't given me a single cent. Don't I need to eat and drink? Not to mention your mother constantly finding excuses to ask me for money, food, and drinks. I don't have a money tree. Where would I get the money from? I looked at Ron Cheng and reminded him word by word, you promised to give me $500 to support me and the child after the divorce. Give me the money now, will you? Ron Cheng's face darkened. I don't have that much money right now. Are you going back on your word? Ron Cheng, I've already allowed you to take care of Fei Jin, but a person can't be so heartless, can they? I'm carrying your flesh and blood. You must give me the money immediately, or else. I didn't continue. But Ron Cheng should know what my or else implied. Exposing his secret affair with Fei Jin would be no small matter. He wants to keep his current position. And to secure wealth and honor, he must first stabilize me. In the end, Ron Cheng reluctantly gave me $500, then stormed off to the market with a dark expression to buy a chicken. When Fei Jin found out that Ron Cheng had given me $500 to keep me quiet, she wasn't happy. She no longer pretended to be weak in bed and angrily came to confront me. Lily Lee, how dare you take Ron's money? Why wouldn't you know? I sneered at Fei Jin. This is what Ron Cheng owes me. If he doesn't want me to expose your affair, of course he has to pay me hush money. Fei Jin didn't expect me to tear down this facade. She froze for a moment, then smiled nonchalantly. So you already knew. Since you're aware, I won't hide it from you anymore. Fei Jin said triumphantly, Ron loves me. I might as well tell you, I spent my wedding night with Ron instead of Cheng Jiandong. Shameless. I never expected these two despicable people to be so disgusting. Seeing me angry, Fei Jin became even more delighted and spoke without restraint, elaborating in detail about her illicit affair with Ron Cheng. Cheng Jiandong was drunk and passed out at the time. I couldn't stand taking care of him. So my mother-in-law Wang Baodi called Ron Cheng to help. Then, right next to Cheng Jiandong, we embraced each other. No wonder Ron Cheng has been so attentive to Fei Jin, insisting on divorcing me no matter what to give Fei Jin and the child in her belly a home. Ron Cheng had long been involved with Fei Jin, probably thinking he was the only man in her life, right? His love for Fei Jin was so genuine that even when I told him about her affair with Ash Gu and other unclear relationships with men, he refused to believe it. I hope he gets his wish in this lifetime and stays locked with Fei Jin forever, never to part. As I was thinking this, Fei Jin's gaze fell on my stomach. Lily Lee, since you already know everything, stop dreaming about remarrying Ron. Get rid of the child in your belly. On what grounds? I stared coldly at Fei Jin. Ron Cheng said he would remarry me. Why should I get rid of the child? You still dare to dream of keeping the child? Fei Jin chuckled. Let me tell you, Lily Lee, Ron just told me, he will never let your child be born. Within 3 days, he'll make sure the baby in your belly meets a merciless end. I firmly believe Fei Jin's words. After all, in my past life, Ron Cheng showed not the slightest mercy toward me or the child in my womb. Since he still intends to harm me as he did in my past life, then I won't hold back either. An eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. I'll settle the grudges of 2 lifetimes at once. When Ron Cheng returned, he not only brought back an old hen but also his mother, Wang Baodi. He was in the kitchen slaughtering a chicken when Wang Baodi came to my room looking for me, her triangular eyes glaring at me sideways. I'm sick and need to go to the provincial capital for treatment. I need 500 yuan. Give me the money right now. Ever since I married Ron Cheng, Wang Baodi has never shown me a kind expression. She believes I'm not sweet-tongued enough, dull and wooden, unworthy of her son Ron Cheng, no matter how much money I gave her or how many times I bought her food. Wang Baodi always looked at me with disdain. Wang Baodi's favorite is Fei Jin. who is sweet-talking and good at superficial gestures, Fei Jin has never given Wang Baodi a single penny nor helped her with anything. All she did was sweetly call Wang Baodi mom a few times and give her a shoulder rub, and Wang Baodi would be overjoyed, happily praising Fei Jin everywhere for being filial. Wang Baodi still thinks of me as the foolish Lily Li from before, who endured all her mistreatment without complaint. I coldly replied, "Old lady, if you want money, go ask your son Ron Cheng or your daughter-in-law Fei Jin. Why come to me, an outsider? I'm divorced from your son. I have no obligation to give you a single cent," never expecting I would refuse her. Wang Baodi started cursing foully. "You jinx, how dare you talk back to me? Who gave you the nerve to ask Ron for $500? Take a look in the mirror. Do you even deserve that much money? Whether I deserve those $500 isn't for you to decide. Isn't it because your eldest son Ron Cheng and your youngest daughter-in-law Fei Jin couldn't wait to be together, so they paid me to keep my mouth shut? You're talking nonsense. How dare you, you damned scoundrel, slander my son? I swear I'll slap you to death." I abruptly stood up. "I advise you to watch your mouth. Push me too far, and I'll shout it out in the yard. Won't the neighborhood aunties and grannies have some juicy gossip for their tea time then?" Wang Baodi was hopping mad. But she also knew about Ron Cheng and Fei Jin's scandal and understood that family shame shouldn't be aired in public. After shooting me a vicious glare, she turned and left unwillingly. Ron Cheng brought Wang Baodi back, hoping to get the money he gave me returned. Unexpectedly, they failed. Those three despicable people wouldn't let it go. Wang Baodi, acting all high and mighty, came again to order me to the kitchen to tend the fire and boil chicken soup. Meanwhile, she and Ron Cheng, mother and son, hid in the room with Fei Jin, whispering and scheming. I stealthily made my way around the back of the house to eavesdrop by the rear window, where I heard Wang Baodi's venomous voice. "Lily Li knows about your affair with Fei, since she dares to demand such an exorbitant sum from you. I fear she won't let this rest. We might as well settle this matter once and for all. Yes, I'm also worried Lily Li will keep causing trouble. We need to find a way to end this for good." Fei Jin chimed in agreement. Ron Cheng's voice was low. "I originally thought if she didn't make trouble and stayed obedient like before, I'd keep her around. But now that she knows, we can't let her stay. We'll act tonight." "Do you already have a plan?" Ron Cheng nodded, "to prevent her from exposing our affairs first. We'll strike preemptively by finding her a lover. I've even prepared the drugs needed for the operation. They actually planned to frame and slander me just like in my past life." With a cold smile on my lips, I turned and went back to the kitchen. The aroma of chicken soup filled the entire kitchen. I lifted the lid and picked out the 2 chicken thighs, wings, and the best pieces of breast meat. 2 large bowls filled to the brim with meat. I sat in the kitchen, eating until my mouth was greasy and my heart content. After finishing the meat and downing 2 more large bowls of chicken soup, Ron Cheng and Wang Baodi finally came to the kitchen after settling their discussion. Wang Baodi asked hypocritically, "Is the chicken soup ready? If it is, we can start eating." As she spoke, she noticed the chicken bones on the floor. Wang Baodi immediately rushed over, lifted the pot lid, and turned red with anger upon seeing the pot full of bones and scraps. "You greedy little bitch, with so many people in the house, you don't even know how to be considerate." She cursed and came at me to hit me, but I didn't indulge her either. As Wang Baodi lunged at me, I sidestepped and kicked the stool toward her. Wang Baodi missed and fell to the ground. Her front teeth hitting the stool I had kicked, she let out a piercing scream. Her front teeth flew out along with a spray of blood, and Wang Baodi wailed in pain. When had she ever suffered such a loss? With her breath leaking through her gaping mouth, she slurred her words as she ordered Ron Cheng, "Ron, beat this little wretch to death for me. Do it now." Ron Cheng didn't act, not because he didn't want to, but for the sake of the plan that night. Clenching his fists, he glared at me and roared, "Lily Li, you've gone too far. How dare you hit my mom? If anything happens to her, don't blame me for what comes next." After his outburst, he helped Wang Baodi out, and Fei Jin, hearing the commotion, came over as well. Ron Cheng and Fei Jin supported Wang Baodi on either side as they helped her walk out. As she walked, Wang Baodi wailed at the top of her lungs, her mouth gaping where 2 teeth were missing. She accused me of neglecting the family, constantly running off who knows where every couple of days. She even claimed I frequently scolded her, made her suffer, starved her, and today I even laid hands on her. This family of scoundrels is trying to preemptively frame me with false accusations. This way, when they scheme against me tonight, no one will sympathize with me. Since they're ruthless, I won't be righteous either. Tonight, we'll see who comes out on top. At 7 p.m. Roncheng and the other two finally returned. I sat quietly in the room waiting, and half an hour later, Roncheng pushed open the door. In his hands was a bowl of brown sugar eggs, and his face bore a rare smile. Hungry. I made this for you. I know the divorce has been hard on you, Lily. There's really nothing between me and Fei Jin. I only took care of her for Jiandong's sake. Don't listen to the nonsense from outsiders, and my mom has always been like that. Don't take her temper to heart. If it were the Lily Lee from my past life, these words would have moved me to tears and filled me with overwhelming emotion. But I've already died once. I looked coldly at Roncheng. It wasn't someone else who told me about your affair, it was Fei Jin herself. She said you fooled around right next to Cheng Jiandong on your wedding night. Roncheng hadn't expected Fei Jin to reveal such a private matter. His face stiffened. Quickly, he forced a smile. Fei was talking nonsense. Don't believe her. I'm not that kind of person. Why would she talk nonsense? No one could be foolish enough to slander themselves, right? Fei Jin even claimed the child in her belly is yours. How is that possible? I'll go ask her what's going on. Afraid I might say something even harsher. Roncheng eagerly handed me the brown sugar and egg he was holding. Lily, have some eggs first, after you eat. I'll bring Fei over to explain properly to you. So he needs to see me eat this bowl of specially prepared brown sugar eggs to feel at ease. I took the brown sugar eggs and, right in front of Roncheng, finished the entire bowl. Roncheng looked relieved, picked up his bowl and chopsticks, and left. Before going, he thoughtfully suggested I lie down and rest if I felt tired. I obediently took off my shoes and lay down on the bed. A cold smile flickered across Roncheng's lips as he closed the door behind him. Half an hour later, a furtive figure quietly pushed open my slightly ajar door. About another quarter of an hour passed, and Wang Baodi, missing a front tooth, tiptoed to my door to eavesdrop. Hearing the creaking sound of the bed frame struggling under the weight from inside, a sly smirk of triumph flashed across her face. Wang Baodi turned and ran outside, muttering venomously as she went, "You little bitch, I'll teach you to be so arrogant. Just wait, tonight will be your end." The hatred fueled by her two missing teeth made Wang Baodi run as if her feet didn't touch the ground. Soon, she knocked on the door of their neighbor Uncle Zhong's house on the left. "Uncle, my Fei isn't feeling well in her stomach. Jiongwo isn't home right now. He's out on business. Could you and Auntie please help take Fei to the hospital for a checkup?" Uncle Zhong naturally agreed without hesitation. Wang Baodi not only called Uncle Zhong and Auntie Zhong but also used the excuse of the dark night and insufficient manpower to gather 4 or 5 neighboring families. A group of over 10 people quickly followed Wang Baodi into the house, but she wasn't in a hurry to take them to send Fei Jin to the hospital. Instead, she turned and came to my door, knocking heavily a few times. "Lily Lee, Fei has a stomachache and needs to go to the hospital. Bring out a military coat for Fei to wear." Without waiting for my response, she pushed the door open, and as it swung wide, Wang Baodi let out a shriek like a screaming chicken. "Who is this? How could there be a man in your bed? Lily Lee, are you cheating on my Roan behind his back? You shameless wretch, how could you be so brazen?" Cursing, she lunged forward and yanked open the bulging blanket on the bed, expecting to find an extra man in my bed. She instead discovered not only no additional man but also that I was nowhere to be seen. Wang Baodi stood frozen in place, unable to explain herself. The aunties Zhong, Liu, and Zhao, who had been following her with gleeful anticipation, gasped in unison when they saw the large chest beneath the quilt. Exchanging glances, they spoke as one. "What did you just say? That Lily Lee was having an affair? Did we hear that right?" This, Wang Baodi was at a complete loss as to how things had turned out this way. It was she who personally let the person in. Watching Ash Gu enter my room and even hearing the sound of the bed creaking. So why is Ash Gu now nowhere to be found? And why have I also disappeared? Scratching her head in confusion, unable to find an explanation, at that very moment, my piercing voice came from outside. "Ah, I can't go on living, Roan Cheng, you heartless monster. How could you cheat with Fei Jin? Are you even human?" The crowd gathered at my door to watch the commotion rushed over in unison upon hearing my cries. Fei Jin's door was wide open, and I, wielding a rolling pin, was frantically beating the meticulous Roan Cheng inside her room. Roan Cheng was covered in blood from my blows, yet he clung to Fei Jin like a dog, refusing to let go. As I relentlessly pummeled Roan Cheng, I screamed, "Weren't you supposed to be out handling business? Instead, you ended up in Fei Jin's room. Roan Cheng, you heartless, ungrateful beast. Are you even human? How can you face Cheng Jiandong like this? And Fei Jin, you despicable wretch, I treated you with such sincerity. When your husband died, I pitied you, brought you food and drink, even gave you money, and in return, you shamelessly hooked up with that scoundrel Roan Cheng. Doesn't your conscience ache at all? Everyone, take a good look. These two shameless creatures, Cheng and Fei Jin, are utterly heartless. This definitely isn't their first time. How wretched my fate is. Their whole family is inhuman. They've treated me like a beast of burden, living off me, eating my food, drinking my drinks, and now they have the audacity to betray me like this." Witnessing this scene firsthand and hearing my tearful accusations, the onlookers began murmuring among themselves, "How outrageous! His wife is still pregnant. How could he do something so beastly? Exactly, with so many women out there, why must he go after someone in the family? And to carry on so brazenly right under his wife's nose, it's utterly disgusting, morally bankrupt, absolutely devoid of conscience. How can these two be so shameless? With so many people around, they still wouldn't stop." Roan Cheng kept letting out agonized moans. At first, everyone thought it was from the beating I gave him, but after a long time when he and Fei Jin still showed no signs of separating, someone finally exclaimed in shock, "Is this locked? Oh my God!" Eye-opening, Roan Cheng and Fei Jin let out agonizing screams. While I continued my tearful accusations, Roan Cheng kept saying he wanted to help his deceased brother take care of his widowed wife. He gave all his salary and allowances to Fei Jin and even planned to take her with him when he was stationed with the army. Today, he forced me to divorce him, saying he'd remarry me after Fei Jin gave birth to the child. Like a fool, I believed him. But now he's openly carrying on with Fei Jin. It's only been 3 months since Cheng Jiandong died, and Fei Jin's pregnancy is just 2 months along. Needless to say, the child must be Roan Cheng's. Right, that might actually be true. Even a vicious tiger doesn't harm its own cubs. If he's neglecting his own wife and children to rush and take care of someone else's, I'd bet my life that the child isn't his. Poor Cheng Jiandong. How long has it been since he passed? His body isn't even cold yet. And Roan Cheng is already acting so inhumanely. I strongly suspect Cheng Jiandong was murdered by them. After all, illicit affairs have led to deadly consequences since ancient times. That makes sense. Wang Baodi brought a group of people to watch the spectacle, pointing and making all sorts of comments at the visibly distressed Roan Cheng and Fei Jin. Over there, Wang Baodi was as frantic as an ant on a hot pan, shouting herself hoarse to drive people away. But these were people she had gone to great lengths to deceive into coming. How could they leave when such a scene was unfolding? Not only were the people she had called unwilling to leave, but more and more were also arriving, drawn by the commotion to watch the spectacle. The Cheng family had never been this lively before, packed to the brim with people. Even so, Roan Cheng had no intention of separating from Fei Jin. Watching the shameless display between the two, the murmurs and tsk sounds of onlookers could be heard from miles away. With things having come to this, Wang Baodi knew there was no turning back. Seeing Roan Cheng covered in blood from my beating, she lunged at me like a madwoman to stop me. "Stop, you stop right now." Of course, I wouldn't stop. This was the hatred of 2 lifetimes. I used every ounce of strength to continue pummeling Roan Cheng, seeing her son covered in blood from head to face. Wang Baodi, driven by maternal instinct, rushed over and shoved me hard. Exhausted from the fight, I seized the moment to let out a sharp cry and collapsed to the ground. Clutching my stomach in feigned agony, the baby, my baby, won. The neighbors immediately rushed me, bleeding, to the hospital, but of course, the baby couldn't be saved. After all, I had already taken abortion pills in advance. From the moment I was reborn, I had no intention of keeping this child. Last night, everything was a conspiracy orchestrated by the Roan Cheng family to trap me, but it was also my carefully planned counterattack. After overhearing Roan Cheng's plan to use extreme measures against me, just like in my previous life, I immediately came up with a plan to deal with it. I deliberately ate the best chicken thighs, waiting for Wang Baodi to lose her temper. In this household, the best food and drinks never come to me. It's always Roan Cheng Fei Jin and Wang Baodi who enjoy the finest treatment. I knew Wang Baodi would be furious and curse at me when she saw that I had eaten all the chicken thighs and breasts. I want to provoke Wang Baodi to make her suffer a small punishment so I can carry out my plan against those three bitches. I succeeded. Wang Baodi, furious and out of control, confronted me, and I knocked out two of her front teeth. Roan Cheng acted decisively to tarnish my reputation and set me up for the evening, deliberately supporting Wang Baodi with Fei Jin while shouting insults all the way to make sure everyone knew, and I was waiting for exactly this time gap. Roan Cheng and Fei Jin helped Wang Baodi to see the doctor, and I immediately went to Fei Jin's room. While hiding under the window eavesdropping, I saw clearly that Roan Cheng handed the medicine intended for me to Fei Jin, who then placed it in the drawer by the bed. After replacing the medicine Roan Cheng had prepared to use against me, I proceeded with the first step of my plan, that was to scheme against Fei Jin, after Fei Jin became pregnant. Roan Cheng cherished the baby in her belly dearly, preparing milk powder for her every night. I opened the milk powder can and mixed the drug powder into it. I believe Fei Jin will prepare the milk powder to drink at night. Once she drinks the tampered milk, there will be an unexpected surprise waiting for her and Roan Cheng. After adding the substance to the milk powder and placing the fake substance back in the drawer, I picked up a few bricks and returned to my room, waiting for nightfall. He Jiongwo and his two companions went to the hospital to discuss the details before returning home. Unaware that the medicine had been swapped, Roan Cheng took the powder I had replaced and made me a bowl of sweet egg soup. I ate the sweet egg soup right in front of Roan Cheng, seeing me consume it. His heart finally settled. He was waiting for me to disgrace myself like in my previous life, to be defiled by Ashgu and caught in the act in public, to avoid suspicion. After confirming I had fallen into the trap, Roan Cheng planned to excuse himself and step out for a while, wait until the commotion starts before coming back, but when he went to say goodbye to Fei Jin, he ended up getting entangled by her. Fei Jin, who had consumed something they prepared themselves, couldn't control herself from flirting with Roan Cheng. Roan Cheng was never a decent person to begin with. After being seduced by Fei Jin, he harbored a sense of luck and decided to enjoy himself for a while first. He planned to leave through Fei Jin's window once Wang Baodi brought people to make a scene. To his surprise, everything turned out differently than he had imagined. I had been prepared all along, and as Ashgu entered, I raised the brick I had ready and struck his head with a heavy blow. Ashgu collapsed to the ground without uttering a sound. I despised him, this accomplice, with every fiber of my being. I lifted the brick in my hand and aimed a forceful blow at Ashgu's lower body. Ashgu's lower body was smashed beyond recognition. Needless to say, he would never function as a man again in this lifetime. When Wang Baodi came to eavesdrop, I heard her footsteps and deliberately made the bed creak to make her think her scheme had succeeded. While Wang Baodi went out to call for help, I dragged Ashgu out of my room and dumped him by the outhouse. After finishing all this, I quickly returned to find Roan Cheng and Fei Jin already engaged in a heated battle. Perhaps even heaven couldn't bear to witness their shamelessness. The two scoundrels were startled when I caught them in bed with my rolling pin. The terrified Fei Jin locked Roan Cheng, who was trying to escape, and just like that, they became a spectacle for everyone to see. 1. Witnessing Roan Cheng and Fei Jin's shamelessness firsthand, and then seeing me miscarry because of it. The neighbor who took me to the hospital felt deeply sorry for me and kept comforting me along the way. Upon arriving at the hospital, I was taken to the operating room. The doctor performed a dilation and curettage procedure on me. Meanwhile, Roan Cheng and Fei Jin were also rushed to the hospital for emergency treatment. Such a massive scandal was truly a once-in-a-century event, and news of it spread throughout the entire county. It is said that the scandal between Roan Cheng and Fei Jin spread like wildfire, attracting countless followers. By the time the two were sent to the hospital, they were carried on a stretcher covered with a white cloth, followed by a crowd of hundreds of onlookers. Such a spectacle was truly unprecedented. Rumor has it that after several doctors consulted, it took tremendous effort to finally separate Roan Cheng and Fei Jin. I stepped out of the operating room, and everywhere there were people. They were discussing the incident. First time hearing about it, my goodness, completely naked, exactly. I heard it was the elder brother and his sister-in-law. Of course, it's the family next to mine. The man is an army officer, usually putting on such a respectable front. Who would have guessed he's full of debauchery in private? I heard the child in the woman's belly is his, not his deceased brother's. That Fei Jin woman is notorious for being promiscuous. The child in her belly definitely isn't her late husband's. Whether it's her brother-in-law's is another matter. After all, she's had countless men on the side. You know what they say, illicit affairs often lead to tragedy. Could it be that the younger brother was killed by those two adulterers? Quite possible. Rumor has it their shameless affair was known all along by his mother, Wang Baodi, and that Wang Baodi is no saint either. She even tried to frame her pregnant daughter-in-law last night. The whole scandal blew up when Wang Baodi brought people home to expose those two despicable creatures. Yes, I heard about it too. Apparently, Wang Baodi used the excuse of taking her younger daughter-in-law to the hospital to call the neighbors for help. Once inside, she went straight to the elder daughter-in-law's room, flung the door open, and started screaming that the elder daughter-in-law was cheating. But turns out, the elder daughter-in-law wasn't even in the room. That family is just awful. Good thing the elder daughter-in-law was alert, or she would have fallen right into their trap. By the way, I heard the troublemaker Ash Gu was found unconscious near the outhouse, covered in blood. Do you think this has something to do with him? Absolutely. Ash Gu and that Fei Jin have been involved for a while now. Could it be that Fei Jin, Roan Cheng, and Wang Baodi set Ash Gu up together? The Gu family is such a powerful clan, not one to be trifled with. If they really schemed against Ash Gu like this, the Gu family will definitely stand up for Ash Gu. Listening to the chatter, I smiled faintly without a moment's rest and immediately dialed the military's whistleblower hotline to report Roan Cheng for inappropriate relationships with women. After receiving my report, the military promised to investigate the matter promptly. Only then did I return to the hospital room to rest. I knew that with such a big commotion last night, even if Roan Cheng had all the power in the world, he wouldn't be able to hide it. I just didn't expect there was still a surprise waiting for me. A neighbor, Auntie Zhong, who came to visit me, told me an unexpected piece of news. Lily, Roan Cheng was beaten again right after coming out of the operating room. I secretly rejoiced but kept a straight face. Who hit him? Who else? It was the Gu family. That hoodlum Ash Gu's people came and beat him up right in the hospital ward. Broke 3 bones. Even knocked out one of his eyeballs. What was the reason this time? I feigned surprise and asked. Aunt Zhong sighed at my naive expression. You silly girl, you'd still be counting the money after being sold, but you're lucky, heaven is watching over you, Aunt Zhong vividly recounted to me. Ash Gu's family said that last night Fei Jin went to see Ash Gu. No one knows what she said to him, but after Ash Gu left with her, he never returned. It wasn't until this morning that he was found unconscious near the outhouse outside your home. The Gu family immediately rushed Ash Gu to the hospital for emergency treatment. His life was saved, but he's now a broken man. His lower body was completely smashed. When Ash Gu woke up, he was in unbearable pain and confessed everything to his family about his secret with Fei Jin. Aunt Zhong's face was full of disdain. That Fei Jin wasn't just involved with Roan Cheng. She had also been carrying on with Ash Gu for a long time. Ash Gu thought the child in Fei Jin's belly was his own, so he obeyed her every command. Last night, Fei Jin came to Ash Gu and said you were against her, and she wanted Ash Gu to rape you to vent her anger, But as soon as Ash Gu sneaked into your room, someone knocked him out. Lily, was it you who knocked out Ash Gu? Of course I wouldn't admit it, certainly not. Last night after eating the sweet egg soup Roncheng sent me, I had an urgent need to pee and kept running to the bathroom. As you know, pregnant women always need to pee frequently. That's right, Sister Zhong nodded in agreement. When I was pregnant, I also had to go to the bathroom several times a night, I continued. When I came back from the bathroom and passed by Fei Jin's room, I heard strange noises. I thought it was odd. Isn't Fei Jin's husband dead? Who was she with in the room? So I leaned in to listen, and that's when I heard Roncheng's voice. I was furious and grabbed a rolling pin to catch them in the act. So that's what happened. You were lucky. That Ash Gu was lured by Fei Jin to set you up. The one who knocked him out must have been Roncheng. How could a pregnant woman like you have that much strength? Aunt Zhong sympathized with me and believed my words wholeheartedly. The Gu family, after hearing Ash Gu's account of the incident, unanimously concluded that Roncheng and Fei Jin had set Ash Gu up. The Gu family is not one to be trifled with, so they went straight to confront Roncheng. Aunt Zhong told me that several strong and capable young men from the Gu family went after Roncheng, breaking several of his bones. He screamed in agony, and even his eyeball was burst. Fei Jin didn't escape unscathed either. Upon learning that Roncheng had been beaten, she tried to flee, blocked by the Gu family. They did not go easy on her. The main culprit, after a brutal beating, Fei Jin suffered heavy bleeding, lost the child, and had her uterus removed, leaving her unable to bear children for life. This is the best news I could have hoped for, and I am overjoyed. Next comes the military's punishment for Roncheng. He wasn't scheming to divorce me so he could fly off into the sunset with Fei Jin. Let's see if they can still choose each other and stay together when the military's punishment comes down. The military investigation team arrived very quickly, showing up the very next day. Roncheng and Fei Jin's affair is now common knowledge, so the investigation team basically had no trouble gathering all the evidence. The military leadership did not tolerate Roncheng's behavior and directly dismissed him. It's said that when Roncheng woke up and learned about the military's punishment, he let out a howl and fainted again. I was discharged from the hospital 3 days later. When I returned home, I found Wang Baodi actually cooking in my kitchen. After not seeing her for 3 days, Wang Baodi looked as if she had aged more than 10 years. There were many scratches on her face, clearly caused by someone clawing at her. It seems the Gu family didn't go easy on Wang Baodi either. Seeing me return, Wang Baodi stood up with venomous hatred, pointing at me. You black-hearted, rotten-lunged little bitch. How dare you come back? Just wait till I deal with you. She vented all her accumulated grievances on me, trying to regain her lost face through me. How could I let her have her way? I grabbed Wang Baodi's hair and slapped her across the face. Wang Baodi howled in pain as I beat her. I dragged her by the hair and threw her out the door. This is my home. If you dare step foot in here again, I'll beat you every time I see you. Wang Baodi was left bruised and bleeding from her nose and mouth. Having never suffered such humiliation before, she screamed about calling the police. When they arrived, I showed them my divorce certificate from Roncheng, and I told the police that the house was left to me by my parents and had absolutely nothing to do with Roncheng or Wang Baodi. The scandal about Roncheng was spreading everywhere, so naturally, the police knew I was the victim. They sympathized with my situation and reprimanded Wang Baodi, ordering her, my former mother-in-law, to leave my residence immediately. After being beaten, Wang Baodi slunk away in disgrace. I packed up Chen Zhongwo and Fei Jin's belongings and threw them all into the trash heap. I've already taken my revenge. Ash Gu and Roncheng are both no good. I didn't harm them, yet they still plotted against me. This time, they suffered a heavy loss at my hands and will surely seek to retaliate. As the saying goes, a cornered dog will jump over a wall, and another warns, one must always guard against others. To avoid being targeted for revenge by Ash Gu and Roncheng, it's best not to stay here any longer. I made a decisive decision to sell my house and quit my job to leave here and head south. I asked for 3,000 for the house and just 1,000 for the job. Because the prices were extremely low, someone quickly reached an agreement with me. On the very day I got the money, I bought a train ticket and left. I went to the southern city of Shenzhen. Just as the spring breeze of reform and opening up began to blow, with the money I had, I started a clothing business. At first, I just set up a street stall, but later I moved into a storefront. Within just 3 years, I owned 10 stores and became a boss. I saw Aunt Zhong, my neighbor, again on a late autumn evening. After dinner, I came out of the restaurant ready to drive away when I heard someone calling my name, Lily. Lily Lee. I turned around and saw Aunt Zhong, whom I hadn't seen in years. Aunt Zhong had gained some weight and happily came over to hold my hand. "Is it really you? You've made a fortune and become so young and beautiful. I saw you earlier but didn't dare to recognize you." Aunt Zhong had once helped me, and being a grateful person, I treated her to a meal. She said the factory had shut down, and she came here to find work. My shop also needed help, so I asked Aunt Zhong if she'd like to assist. Aunt Zhong eagerly agreed, and during the meal, she told me what had happened after I left. Half a month after I left, Ron Cheng was kicked out of the hospital because he couldn't pay the fees. He still had the audacity to think he could live in my house, only to return and find it had long since changed hands. With me nowhere to be found, Ron Cheng had no choice but to slink back to his hometown with Wang Baodi in disgrace, dismissed from the military, jobless, and blind in one eye. He couldn't find work anywhere and had no option but to return to farming. Unable to cope with such a drastic fall from grace, Ron Cheng became extremely volatile, frequently berating Wang Baodi and sometimes even resorting to violence. Knowing he couldn't return to the military or strut around like he used to, Ron Cheng pinned all his hopes on Fei Jin. He believed he had given so much for Fei Jin, that his devotion was genuine, and that Fei Jin should reciprocate his feelings in kind. Ron Cheng planned to live together with Fei Jin, but when he went to see her, he was met with a cold rejection. Fei Jin had previously lowered herself to Ron Cheng because she coveted his status, but now that Ron Cheng is blind, disabled, and jobless, he means nothing to her. Fei Jin simply ignored Ron Cheng, and when he pestered her too much, she told him the harsh truth. Fei Jin said Ron Cheng didn't even know which fling of hers he was, and that she only took a liking to him for a life of luxury. Now that Ron Cheng has lost his job, how is he supposed to support her? Not to mention Ron Cheng was blind in one eye, which disgusted her at the very sight. Fei Jin also told Ron Cheng that the child she was carrying wasn't Chen Zhongwo's at all. It was Ash Gu's. Ron Cheng was so furious that he beat Fei Jin severely and forced her to leave with him. While this commotion was in full swing, the Jiyu family arrived. Ash Jiyu became a cripple, and the Jiyu family demanded that the instigator, Fei Jin, take responsibility for Ash Gu's remaining life. Compared to Ron Cheng, who lost an eye, Fei Jin chose the physically intact Ash Jiyu, after being abandoned by Fei Jin and beaten by the Jiyu family. A resentful Ron Cheng returned to the countryside with Wang Baodi. Everyone thought the matter was over, but who would have known that half a month later, Ron Cheng would sneak into Ash Gu's house with a butcher's knife. Ash Jiyu and Fei Jin were hacked to death by him on the spot. It's said that blood flowed from the house all the way outside, staining the ground in an extremely horrifying scene. Ron Cheng didn't flee and turned himself in, quickly receiving a death sentence. He was executed by firing squad within half a year of being captured. I had already anticipated this outcome. After all, someone as utterly vicious and devoid of morality as Ron Cheng is capable of anything. I'm familiar with the saying about a cornered beast will do anything. I've already died once at Ron Cheng's hands and don't want any more accidents. To prevent Ron Cheng, who might turn into a drowning dog, from seeking revenge on me, I left home. Now that Ron Cheng, Ash Jiyu, and Fei Jin are all dead and gone, I can finally breathe a sigh of relief. With these rotten people out of the picture, I'm going to fully enjoy the life that belongs to me. I will definitely be happier than in my previous life, and I will surely find my own happiness.